Welcome to Board Game Binge, the place where we bring you bite-sized, bingeable board game content across the industry. I'm your host, James Staley, and in this episode, we're welcoming back Nigel Matthews, CEO of GamesQuest, a UK-based European fulfillment company. Nigel has been a wealth of knowledge in this industry, navigating fulfillment in the ever-changing European market. Nigel, welcome back to the binge. How you doing, my friend?
Thank you, James.
I love it.
Thank you so much. What a great introduction. I do a rock podcast, so I kind of do the same thing, like as you
Yeah,
do.
you just gotta throw the whole body into it, you know?
Got to be enthusiastic. It's great. So, but yeah, I am. Well, like everybody else, American tariffs have screwed us up, and now European tariffs are trying to do the same. But we can navigate through all of that. We can do that. So yeah.
And that's the key, right? Is about the navigation, and there's always something, right? So even you
Yes.
go back to when we had the canal, right, and the blockage of the canal, and navigating that, going through COVID, and the container crisis, like there's always a need to try to navigate, right? And I think when you have a dynamic industry like this, where we're all just trying to get our games to market, it's important to lean on the experts in the industry to say, okay, how can I navigate this? How can I adapt to this kind of changing model and be mindful of that even when building campaigns and things like that. So, I mean, we've had you on the podcast, I think 3 times now. Last time was like in 2023. I can't believe it.
I
Seems like
know
I was just
so much has
talking.
changed. So
Oh my
much things have
gosh.
changed as well.
But
But
you
yeah.
haven't aged a bit. So it's
Oh,
like I talked to you yesterday.
so sweet, so sweet, so sweet. Thank you very much. Yeah. No, I think it's funny, isn't it? When I first started in e-commerce business, 15 years ago,
Yeah.
it was all about encouragement of open borders, open border selling across the world, and make it easy for people to do that. And now, 15 years later, it's the total opposite. The world is getting smaller,
Yeah.
China e-commerce, and the influx of that and how things are all kind of changing really. Yeah, it makes it a more difficult world to navigate. Not impossible, but more difficult to navigate for
It's
sure.
definitely
Without
becoming
a
more
doubt.
siloed, I would say, the different
Yes.
regions, right? So I want to kind of I know we got like, it's always tough to get everything in the 30 minutes, but we're gonna try. I want to bucket this if we can. So let's start off with the changes in Europe, because
Yeah.
maybe not everybody even knows what's going on, and some of the adjustments have been made, following states obviously following suit with some of the things that happened in the states as well. But let's start there. So what's happened in Europe? What's changed?
Well, a few things really. Obviously, VAT is still prevalent, but yeah, we're kind of deal with that because with Kickstarter becoming an online marketplace, things have become slightly easier, shall we say, because obviously now they're the same as GameFounder's online marketplace, where they can collect and charge and disperse the VAT, makes things more cost effective. But we can still, we still have our VAT agency where basically we can still import into both Europe and the UK under what we call deemed supply. So therefore, yes, still it's a less of a requirement to get VAT registered. So that's number one. That's a good thing.
Mhm.
That's a really good thing. So we can obviously talk to people about that. The bad thing is a brand new what we call everybody moans about America, but the way that Trump goes, "I put in a China shop." Well, you can basically say that Europe are the tigers because they stealth tax you and they
Yeah.
creep up at you and you don't know it's going to hit you. So they've got a brand new import tariff called LVI, which is called low value import tariff, which kicked in from July the 1st. And the first thing is basically if you ship any individual parcel, an e-commerce parcel, into the EU, you get a €3 tariff on it. And it's per item code. So therefore, if you send a board game and a map, which are two different harmonized codes, you're paying €6. Now
Mhm.
put a dice in there, and you could be paying €9. So and then from November they're putting a €2 admin fee on top of all of that as well.
Oh, really?
So
Okay, I didn't
yeah,
know that
oh
one.
yeah,
Wow.
it's so everybody goes. So that's why it's just as brutal as a Trump tax in some ways. Um, but it's all aimed at slowing down the e-commerce from China.
Mm,
And obviously, which is like probably 80 to 90% of individual parcels coming into the EU.
yeah.
So you can't blame them for doing it. Unfortunately, us other people get caught up in all of that, and we end up paying the price along with everybody else. So don't panic though, because GamesQuest have got you. So we have a hub.
Of
We have
course.
a, of course we have. Of course we have solutions all the time. So we have a hub both in Holland and the UK. So basically, when we import in bulk into Holland, then there is no LVI tariff. So and if you've got a small amount of parcels, then fine, we can still do that by us, and you then have to pay the tariff. If it's
So
a
help me
single
understand
border,
that. So I want to pause it
then
just so I make sure I
yeah,
get
no,
this
it's fine,
clearly.
absolutely, yeah,
So right now, if we're sending in individual items, right? So this is kind of like the Temu model, right? Where you're
yeah,
just like
correct,
peppering consumers or just getting single items at a time. Europe is tried to offset this by saying, okay, instead of to slow it down, we've got a tax per harmonized code. And for those that don't understand what harmonized code is, board games will have like one code. A game mat, as you said, might have another code. Dice
correct,
would have another code. So if
correct,
you're putting those three items loosely in the box, you're paying three fees for those three codes. Now, when
correct.
you say you've got the Holland, where you can bring everything into Holland to deploy from there, how does that work? How does that kind of not get around, but how does that deal with this new tax and to help
Well,
people with
because
that
we're the final shipping will be from our Dutch warehouse, so it's where that final shipping is coming
to
from,
the end consumer?
to the end consumer. So if it's
Okay,
coming from anywhere outside of the Europe in a individual parcel, those tariffs kick in, and it's aimed at value of parcels because without any shadow of a doubt, e-commerce companies are um, less than truthful about the value of the product that they're sending.
sure.
So therefore, therefore they've said anything below the value of 150 euros will have this tariff on it. So because there's duties on anything above 150 euros for an individual parcel anyway, but anything
Mm,
below 150 euros will have this tariff, no matter what the product. It doesn't matter if it's a book, doesn't matter about anything. It has this €3 tariff that would kind of kick in. Now, because we import in bulk using the normal import methods of commercial invoice, etc., there is no tariff because it's not an individual parcel.
got it. Okay. So the benefits, full circle on that, to working with a company like GamesQuest is it's going to save a lot of money, right? And
Correct.
instead of trying to do these individually from China, because that was the
Correct.
model that things kind of started shifting towards, is just saying, well, I'll just do my fulfillment directly from China and ship from factory or from a distribution hub there straight to the consumer, right? But now you've got these additional costs that are kind of offsetting the benefits of doing that model. And now you've got the ability to do this straight from Holland. Now, can people store their goods in Holland as well, or is it
Yeah, yeah,
more of
yeah,
a drop ship?
absolutely. Yeah,
Okay,
well, our portal is fully integration with any Shopify or any e-commerce website, so we can
okay.
continue doing ongoing run rate business. Absolutely, absolutely, we can do that. That's not really a problem at all. So,
And
but
then,
yeah,
so how do you help people with that navigation? Because I often get asked by people about Essen as well, right? Of trying to get, and you helped me, quite frankly. What was it, 3 years ago, 4 years ago when I did Essen? Um, I mean, I use GamesQuest. You guys got my goods right to the booth, right? And so that's the tough part people have navigating as well. How do people then kind of get themselves set up with GamesQuest so that they can take advantage of some of these
or
savings that you're going
our
to have?
SN offering has got even better, James.
Mm.
Even so, I'm going to do a James Staley. Even better. So no, we can now provide because we're VAT registered in Germany. We now provide. We've got about 15, 20 customers at Essen where we provide the whole POS system,
Oh,
all the
wow.
machines, everything. We transact all the cash. We report all the VAT. They just need to book their stand and get it all set up. We'll have their stock on their stand. And if they need it, we can give them POS on the money to trade at Essen. They don't even have to go get VAT registered. We can do all of that for them. So that service has evolved even more than from when you did it.
Oh,
So,
that's
but yeah,
amazing. Yeah, that's
yeah,
the biggest challenge, right? Was kind of the e-transactions when I was there. which was tough to navigate. And there was all these people trying to find this kind of ways around the system. But I mean, you want to do it properly wherever you can,
Correct.
obviously, because it's just cleaner, right? Getting your cash in and out of the country.
Oh my God! Back in the days, there was no Wi-Fi, there was no signal. We all had to take cash, and then
Yeah,
the amount of thefts that happened of people that you're scamming it. So now that you can take a lot more cards through to there, which we supply, it's a lot more secure, and therefore a lot more profitable. So, but
yeah.
yeah.
So how do people get set up then with GamesQuest in that regards? Is it just simply a phone call? Do you have like an onboarding form, or how do you
Oh,
get
we have
people
it
set
on
up?
board. Yeah, I mean, if people are going to use us for fulfillment, we typically work with our fulfillment customers, really. So yeah,
Yeah.
so it's we get people onboarded and account set up, and all of that jazz. So, but yeah.
And then you'd mentioned, or I'd read somewhere that you're now partnering with Asmodee, or you have some kind of relationship. Like, can you talk a little bit
Well,
about that as
well,
well?
before we get onto the Asmodee things,
Sure.
I just want a couple of other barriers to
Let's do it.
entry, because we haven't escaped everything. There's a lot of other things that are happening in Europe. We now have something called GPSR, which is called
Yeah, yeah,
General Product Safety Regulation Guidelines, and people get scared of it, and it's not that scary. But basically, it's all about safety testing to ensure that your safety testing is compliant with EU regulations. Okay, so basically, you should have done your safety testing. And it's there to stop people whacking on a CE mark. And for God's sake, people, don't put a CE mark on your board game if it's for 14 plus people. You don't need it.
yeah,
Listen to me. Do not just whack. You're wasting your own money in terms of doing that. But need to be said, you need to appoint what we call an authorized rep in the EU. Now we have three different partners that we can introduce people to, who will ensure that your safety testing is compliant with EU regulations. And we know this goes on because one of a publisher, unnamed publisher, we should try to ship a lot of board games in, and it got stopped at the border, and they said, "Can we have your certification of CE one?" And he said, "Well, they said, oh, I haven't done it yet." So what, you just whacked the CE mark on your board game and you
yeah,
actually haven't done the testing. So we know it goes on. So the EU got sick and tired of that, because people just whacking on the safety test and not actually doing it. So you need to appoint an authorized rep. Now, to find the information, just reach out to us, and we'll send you a webinar. We did a webinar with 100 publishers on it, that will explain everything about what GPS are. And it doesn't cost a fortune. It doesn't,
yeah.
people are going like, oh, it's another expense. It actually can range from like 300 to 1,000 euros at the very most to appoint an authorized rep. And then you put that, they approve it, you put their address on the box, and they're your EU rep. And that's going to happen for the UK at some point in the next couple of years as well. They're going to follow suit. So really, it's not, as I say, it's not, it's not. It's there to ensure you should have been doing what you've been doing anyway,
Yeah.
and it's just another bit of administration step. But we could kind of talk through people out there as well,
So let
and
me
and
like, I want to
yeah,
pause on that too, right?
sure,
So you've got your 14 plus games,
hmm
and then your 14 and below.
yes.
So this regulation is required for 14 and below, or is it for 14 plus
Well,
as
it
well?
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you put. Even for books, you need it,
Oh,
because
really?
like, oh yeah, yeah. Because what glue are you using in the book? There's still safety testing or certifications that need to make sure you haven't put asbestos,
Hmm.
inside the spine, for example. Some ridiculous. So even books, you need some sort of basic safety testing. The only difference between a non-C, and C testing is that C test is more rigorous, than your normal, I think it's called reach or something, testing that you need to done anyway. So you'll save yourself about $1,000 to $2,000 by not doing a CE test and just doing normal standard testing. But no matter what product you have, no matter what testing you have, whether it's 14 plus CE market, it doesn't matter. You still need an authorized rep to ensure that any testing you've done is compliant with EU regulations.
Mm. And then in terms of like, so because often like again we get into this, the child safety testing, which is
Yes.
another full band, right? Where I mean,
Well, that's essentially CE marking, really.
yeah, like quite
Yeah.
frankly, what I've done is I just stopped doing games below 14 plus. Like it
Correct.
just
Yeah,
made
just
no
put 14
sense.
plus.
You're doing a
Absolutely.
thousand units. I'll go 14 plus
Correct.
and just do your basics testing. But people still do
Correct.
need to do basic testing. Where do they go for the basic testing? So is it, from my
Your
experience, it's a
manufacturer, the
manufacturer does
factory.
it, they provide it,
Absolutely.
and then your authorized rep then is going to review that and make sure everything is compliant.
Correct.
And then the rep's address goes on the box, you're saying?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And why did, and again, I know I'm asking obvious questions, but why do they have to have their address on the box? Why is that important?
In case of recall, so that so if you're an EU if you're an EU company, you can just put your address. If you're a non-EU company, and let's imagine your game needs to be returned. Now, we would normally go to the warehouse anyway. So some warehouses are operating as authorized reps, but there is a company that can represent you in that territory, should there be like a recall or a concern or a worry about your product. Now, typically we've had this, what I think, three times in 12 years, which has been mold within the game. So you can
Yeah.
imagine that happening. And it's incredibly rare. You probably got more chance of winning the lottery than it happening. But it has happened,
Hmm.
and luckily, the second time we did it, we spotted, or we saw it was happening in the US, and we went before we started it, went, "Oh, hold on, do you want us to check European?" And they went, "Yes, please." And then luckily we hadn't sent anything out. But you can imagine if it needed to be a recall, then they can liaise with that authorized rep, and that authorized rep can be your representative in the EU, as an
So
example.
how does a manufacturer or how does a publisher, a small publisher, handle inventory where, say, they're only making 1,000 units and 200 of them are going to Europe? Like, is the expectation they're putting a sticker with that address on it? Because that address is not relevant anywhere other than European
Doesn't
Union, right?
matter. You're going to get it printed. Just get it printed on the box anyway.
So you just put for
Yeah,
Europe, here's the address for Europe
yeah,
type thing.
correct. Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right. What else has changed? Or can we go over to some of the,
Well, I'm not going to go too into depth because it's still new, but there is a new packaging laws that have come out, and we're going to be running it. So reach out to us because we will be doing a webinar on this. I don't know enough to talk confidently about it at the minute, but it's something that's been bubbling away about making sure that your packaging is packaging materials that you're using in your boxes is compliant as well. But so that's all a bit new, but we're going to be running a kind of big, large webinar on this. In the next couple of weeks. So we can share that, and if anybody is interested in joining that webinar, then we you can reach out and we'll put them on that webinar when we organise it. But yeah, so yeah, really that's it. There's four major things that are happening quite positively with Kickstarter, with Deem, with being an online marketplace, which makes the VAT easier. But you still need to use somebody like us so we can import for you. The LVI tariffs sorted. We just use a Dutch warehouse. GPSR got you sorted. That we're all good on that one. And the new packaging, we'll find a solution because that's the difference between us and your typical fulfillment company. Is like
yeah.
we don't go, well, work it out yourself and send it to my warehouse. We're your partner, and our job is to try and make sure that we have solutions in place, they're ready for you, really. So those are the major changes in the EU market, really. And we used to be in Germany, and Germany has become just a living hell for importation. Living hell, it really is. We used to laugh and joke about that. When you do a normal import, which we're now doing through Holland because we pivoted to Holland, it's called the Holy Three documentation. Your commercial invoices, SAD, your packing list, etc. Nice and easy three documentation. We call Germany the unholy nine, because you need nine pieces of documentation, including things like proof of payment to your manufacturer, for money laundering. You have to pay a VAT at the full retail cost rather than the cost of manufacturing. Whereas Holland is so much easier. We import under something like Article 23. There's no VAT at the border. It's all very much similar. So yes, we pivoted to Holland, away from Germany. So because that became a living nightmare, really. So, but yeah, so those are the real changes in the EU. So, but yeah, and then we've got the UK alliance, which we can talk about. We mentioned Asmodee,
Yeah.
which is really positive. So,
Is that
we
just for
we
the UK or does that cover off Europe as well?
no, we also work with a couple of distributors in Europe, which is
Mm,
part of the Asmodee group, which is Blackfire and EPN. So we have kind of connections there as well. So we looked at it and went like, we're not a distributor and we're not a retailer. We took a decision after COVID to stop doing retail.
yeah.
and fully focus on being the best we can at fulfillment, really, and to be a value-added partner in that scope. So literally, Asmodee are like a mile from. We have two warehouses, and they're massive, gloriously gorgeous looking. And I mean, it does look sexy warehouse because it's all black clad and they've got wooden slats, and it looks as far as warehouses go, it looks a very sexy warehouse, Asmodee. And they're right on our doorstep, and we know them very, very well. So we had conversations about why they couldn't take on new publishers, particularly with all the wonderful games that are coming from Kickstarter. And they just don't have, they're a big distributor. They don't have the capacity to handle so many individual accounts. And maybe, if it's a one-off game, setting that up, et cetera, et cetera. So it took a while, but we kind of got there. So we now have this alliance with Asmodee, that if you get because what people got to remember, and I had this conversation with somebody on an email, they said, well, their distributors aren't selling. I said, well, you've got to remember what the role of a distributor is. The role of a distributor is to fulfill the demand that you're creating. And that's 80% of the job. And yes, they will do demand creation as well, but that's only maybe 20% of what they do. 80% is, you've created demand. So,
Yeah.
so if you can get 200 backers on your crowdfunding in the UK, well, I'm pretty much guaranteed, depending on your product, by the way, accessories, maybe not so much, but board games or card games, or role-playing games, if you get at least 200 backers in the UK, I'm pretty much guaranteeing you a purchase order with Asmodee. We facilitate all of that. Because
Hmm.
for Asmodee, this is fantastic. They're supporting new publishers coming to the market. They're not having to get the products from China, or the US, because basically it becomes like a super backer. You're going to know roughly, or what's going to happen, or how much roughly they're going to order, or even have a purchase order before you even finish manufacturing, so that you're sending that order with your fulfillment. So then we literally just take it round the corner and we deliver it for a very, very small fee. And so we're facilitating that, and it works for us because we don't make money out of this. We facilitate it because we know that you'll focus your marketing on the UK market and the European
Yeah.
market, and therefore you'll get more backers, and therefore we'll get more parcels to ship. So it works really, really well. And we've done about maybe 70 orders now through this mechanism, and now they're starting to look at products that have got less than 200 orders in the UK, because the game looks so good, and they understand these small publishers maybe don't have that marketing capacity, but the game looks really good, so they'll put it on for solicitation, and they'll see what numbers they get. So we can't guarantee an order, but we are seeing that as well. We had a little order that came through for 92. It sold so well they've now reordered it three times. But yeah,
So how this is structured, so again, I'm gonna paraphrase what I think you just said, is that Asmodee setting up all these individual publishers is cumbersome because there's a lot
definitely
out there.
yes, they have got the
So what
capacity.
you've done is you've set yourself up as kind of the publisher in their system, and then you have people below all those kind of
We we
one-offs
we
are kind
act
of
as a
below.
consolidator. In short, we act as a consolidator.
Yeah,
So we're like a mini PSI or something like that. So
got it.
we act as a consolidator. But yes, in a sense, Asmodee buy from us, we buy from the publisher, and it all kind of goes seamlessly back. So as they raise a purchase order on us, we'll raise a purchase order on the publisher, and then obviously we deliver it. It's included in our fee, and then Asmodee pay us, and we pay the publisher. So it's all kind of seamless in that regard. So really, what we really are is we're acting as a consolidator.
Is there a way to kind of pre-book that with Asmodee before you ship the goods into the country so that you're not
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
having
yeah.
stuff
No,
sit? Yeah,
absolutely. That's the whole point. The whole point is, you know you're going to get a purchase order. Now, hopefully, depending on how quick, as but they can be slow. Let's be brutally honest about it.
hmm
They can be, they're a big beast, and they can be a bit cumbersome. And sometimes I can get a purchase order, So basically what happens is you finish your campaign. We pitch to Asmodee once a month. So we go through the list of all the products, all the campaigns that are funded, and we go through one by one, and they go, yes, we'll take it. Yes, we won't take it. We send a data form up to the publisher. The publisher, it's down to the publisher. Sometimes publishers come back within a week. Sometimes they take 3 months, because they think they have to fill it all in. And I go, you don't need to know what carton size or pallet size it is. Don't worry about that. But as much information you can give. So they're part of that process. If they can get the information over quicker, we then send it back to Asmodee. It's Asmodee set up on this system. They start solicitations, and hopefully that dictates. So let's imagine they've got Asmodee have 100 pre-orders, from their hobby stores. They might then go, well, that's really good. We'll order 200 copies.
Mm.
Typically it's about two-thirds of whatever the amount of backers you have, but it could be higher than that. So they then get they then either get a PO to me or give me an indication. So some people will go, I'm about to manufacture any ideas, and I can give them a rough idea and say, look, yeah, send a couple 1 to 200 extra copies, and then we know we're getting a purchase order from Asmodee. Or I could already have that purchase order from Asmodee, and we've already raised a purchase order on those guys. So and and it changes. I've just got I've got a call with a customer next week where Asmodee have ordered 150 copies, plus a load of all the expansions, and then I got an email from the Asmodee, could we double that order, please?
Oh wow.
It's like, yeah, can we double that order, please? And it's like, great. Brilliant. Have they shipped them already? I'm not sure, but we'll reach out. So it works. It works kind of seamlessly in that regard as well. So the whole point about it is that you will have that order. So treat it like a super backer. That's the whole
Mm.
intention, because it saves on money for Asmodee. It makes life very, very easy for them, and the better and the easier for them, the more likely they are they'll order it. So.
And then you'll help the publishers with kind of figuring out the mod like the pricing model on making it
Yeah,
work
I,
for them
I
as
I
well, right?
send an email with a complete breakdown of
Yeah.
examples of what the commission is. So, and we advise people because of the way that we work with people pre-launch. We actually can advise them and say, well, look, what's your RRP? And they go, great. Well, now what's your cost of manufacturing? And they go like, oh, well, we manufacture $10. And he says, so you're selling it for 30? And they go, yeah, right, okay, just it's not going to work. You're not going to
Yeah.
make any money. And so we tend to mentor people. The way we structured our company now to give advice and guidance and partnership is to mentor. A lot of it is mentoring. It's just
Yeah.
about tweaking people's knowledge, or like I had a customer yesterday was going, I'm only going to launch for 14 days. No, you're not. You're not an established brand. You don't want to do that. Well, somebody told me that, we should avoid the end of the month. No, you shouldn't. You should try and straddle the month so that you get, so do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
using our experience and knowledge, we work with people to educate them so that they can get more backers. So our intention is to help you get backers. The more backers you get, the better it is. So
Yeah.
an example of that is, if I can jump over to that, if you're
Please.
going to be questions in Amber Day. So the answer, we work with a company called LaunchBoom, right? Now, LaunchBoom are probably our number one recommendation. They have a system, and if you're able to follow, and they're expensive to set up, right? No
Sure.
question about that. I think it's about $4,000 to $5,000, maybe more. But they have a whole system, and if you can follow that ABCD process and learn, it works. I mean, I've got customers that have proven that. I've got other
Yeah.
customers who go like they couldn't get on with it. But they've just got an alliance with a company called Shopline, which is equivalent to Shopify, who are giving out grants to if you sign up to their premium account, you get the first year free, and you get the setup cost, and you get a grant to use LaunchBoom
Mm.
for your marketing, which is absolutely. I think it works out something like $15,000 to $18,000 grant, right?
Wow.
They've already given like 50 of these grants out to LaunchBoom customers. So, my God, do you know what I mean? There are
Yeah.
things out there, and this is our relationships, our partnerships, because for us, it's like brilliant. I'm making no money out of this at all. No
So
money.
how does that work? So with the shop line in launching with this grant, are you getting cash and then you're paying back, or is it they
No,
basically they give
you,
you like
they're giving you for free in effect. They give you like a launch boom setup
oh
rather than you
just
paying
huge?
launch boom. You get it.
Yeah.
You don't pay for the premium account. You don't pay for these setup costs. So in effect, you're just getting stuff for free,
Yeah.
and it's really powerful. So and we were like, we had a meeting with them, and we've got an email confirmation of it all. And really at the minute, it's just for like really for launch boom customers who are setting up a launch boom, because
Yeah.
what Shopline looked at was they looked at the premium customers they were getting from LaunchBoom, and they would stay a premium customer, and they would be doing good e-commerce business because the marketing and LaunchBoom are supporting them with. So it kind of is very symbiotic, and they've had a major investment that's kind of doing that. So that's really exciting, and for us, it's great news. Look, when I say I don't make money, I do, but I make it from you getting backers. The more
Yeah.
backers you get, the more parts I ship. That's where I make my money. So yeah,
One
so
thing
that's
I've
super exciting.
I've really noticed about you over the years is you're not siloed, right? Like it seems like GamesQuest is very active in trying to form partnerships and strategic alliances globally, right?
Yes.
We're gonna have Gamerati, Jeremy from Gamerati is gonna
Yeah,
be
yeah,
on
we've got an alliance with them as
VFI
well. So yeah,
Asia. Yeah,
yeah,
they're gonna be on the
yeah.
podcast in the coming weeks, but I know you're aligned with them, right? So can you talk a little bit about kind of the strategic alliances outside of Launchpoon that you've set up globally?
So in terms of though we're an EU-based company, we do worldwide fulfillment. So we have
Sure.
partners. So Jeremy is one of our partners, both
Hmm.
for the US and for Asia, because he has this very cool pre-packed service that you can inject into the US, which he'll tell you about. We also work strategically with QML. So we have two partners, which are
Hmm.
Jeremy for VFI and QML. So your pricing, if we manage in your QML business, your pricing will be exactly the same as you're working with direct with QML, and they are fantastic.
Yeah.
I joke that they're the second best fulfillment company in the world. And anyway, and we have alliances, we have partners in both Australia, of which again I can secure potential distribution if you do enough backers there, as well as Canada. So we have partners, so we could do worldwide fulfillment.
Who's your partner in
Right from
Canada? I'm curious.
pick a pack.
Take it back. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, pick a pack. We worked with them for God knows how many years, and they've been very, very good.
Hmm.
So we do that. We work with localization partners, so we can put you in touch with localization partners. We work with translation companies. So a lot of people don't realize the size of the German market and the size of the French market. Most Americans fall off their seat when I tell them that the German market is 10 times bigger than the UK market, that the French market is 8 times bigger than the UK market.
Yeah.
I nearly fell off my seat when I sent people to the Cannes Board Game Festival for the first time. It's 130,000 people. It's bigger than Gen Con.
Oh, wow.
I know, right? Though half of it is Asmodee, as you can well imagine, and there's a lot of lifestyle games like chess and that sort of stuff there.
Sure.
So it's quite big, but it's still big. So we have translation services. We have marketing people, not just Launchboom. Launchboom are our number one recommendation, but there's other marketing companies that we recommend to
Hmm.
people. We recommend consultancy companies. Localization companies, translation companies. So we try to go. There's a journey, isn't it? It's 5 stages: logistics, marketing, freight, fulfillment, how we make our money, and then obviously post-fulfillment services such as your e-commerce and your distribution. So we try to go, where are the professionals? Where are the people expertise? How can we open up? Is it we offer a banquet? It's up to you what you eat from that banquet.
Yeah.
Some things will fit, some things won't.
Yeah.
But it's all about how can we help you enable your success? How
Hmm.
can you plan better for success rather than for failure? Because I'll talk to people and they've got 100 followers and about to launch. So there's only one thing that's going to happen, and that is total and utter failure.
Yeah.
So do you want to plan for that, or do you want to plan for success? So we can advise people and mentor them, and we give a lot of advice. I was literally just on before you was talking to a guy about getting VAT registered in the UK and whether it's applicable to him or not, and I'm more than happy to share that information. So it's all about trying to enable success, because the more successful you are, the more successful we are, and
Yeah.
and that's a very symbiotic relationship that we've developed over the years that's worked for us. So
And where do you see GamesQuest going? Like, what's your ultimate vision for the company? Have you kind of mapped out? I know things are constantly changing, right? So it's just a lot of it's an adaptation, but have you guys kind of looked forward 5 years and said kind of here's where we think we need to be as an organization?
we have attempted that many times, and I love it. The fact that you go like, as a company, you should have a short media. We tried it, and the problem with our bloody marketplace is it moves
Yeah.
and shifts, and it's not as bad as retail as a lot of what I used to call quicksand. But it does shift. It's like we have plans in place. The previous year we had a great year, probably our best year before the tariffs, and
Yeah.
then tariffs kick in.
Yeah.
And then we have our worst year, that we've had in a long time, because everybody in America, about 80% of our customers, or 70-80% of our customers are American publishers, and then suddenly everybody's put their project on hold.
Yeah.
And I remember with my customers, which is the Lord of the Rings competition game, that hasn't come yet, and that was due to launch, and then they delayed it by a month, they delayed it by 3 months. Do you know what I mean? So then so that all kind of Backlog. So our vision right now is to grow our network of value added customers, is to focus very much on, we're expanding in terms of other areas within crowdfunding, but we call ourselves a crowdfunding logistic partner. So for us, it's really our main focus where we can add value is in the hobby game arena, so board game, card games.
Yeah.
That's our core. And for us then is to expand that out a little bit to things like, like books or comics, or which we are getting more success in those areas. Technology, but most of the technology, people are based in China. So, but we're winning. We did a cat groomer bizarrely the other day. We're doing some razor blade stuff as well bizarrely. So we get
Okay.
the odd kind of project on that one. So that's how we expand it. But really, it's about adding value and continue to build up that value add. And our reputation is very, very good. It's not to say that we're perfect. I laugh and joke with customers. We can't be perfect. We're in logistics. Nobody's perfect in logistics.
Yeah.
If anybody tells you any differently, they're either self-deluded or they're lying. Because there's so many people in the chain that can go wrong
Yeah.
that can tarnish the whole chain really. But yeah, so that's kind of where we're lying at the minute. Personally, at some point in the future, I would love to publish something at some
Mm.
point in the future. That's what I would like to do. But that's just me as a personal stuff. And the problem in our market is you can very easily get turned. Your head can get turned into,
Yeah.
oh, well, why don't we
Shiny
do
object.
localization?
Yeah.
Why don't we do this? Why do we do this? And suddenly, in order to do that, without proper investment, you start to drain your resources from your current pool that you have.
Yeah.
And suddenly that service that you're very core at starts to suffer. So if you're going to do something, you need to be able to go, right, I'm going to put 50 to 100,000 pounds in that venture, and it's going to self-sustain itself. So such as maybe publishing in the future. But I've seen people try to do it and fail. So something that we'll cautiously look at for the future.
So for those who want to check out GamesQuest, how best do they contact you? Is it through the website? Is there
They
another
can
avenue?
Yeah, so the website, gamesquest.co.uk, there's a contact form on there that comes straight through, or you could just invoice us at info@gamesquest.co.uk or sales@gamesquest, whatever. Probably the website is probably the best thing with the contact form there as well, because you have lots of information on that one as well. So, but
Well,
yeah,
I'll put a link in the show notes. Nigel, you've been a wealth of knowledge.
thank you.
I can't wait to have you back, my friend. Maybe next year even to see
Not
what else
three
has
years
changed.
this time, James. Not 3 years.
Sounds good, buddy. All the best. Cheers.
Thank you very much. Cheers, James. All the best, everybody.
This has been an episode of the Board Game Binge podcast, hosted by James Staley, produced by James Staley and Mike Bruner, with original music by Nick Smith. If you would like to watch these interviews live, simply subscribe to our YouTube channel, Board Game Binge, and you'll get access to live interviews, giveaways, and interesting board game content from across the industry. I can't wait for you to join us. See you next time.